We start in Pakistan, where police have filed terrorism charges against former Prime Minister Imran Khan. They are the latest in a raft of legal proceedings against the ousted leader. You'll remember Khan was thrown out of office through a no-confidence vote back in April. Since then, he's been eyeing a return to power by holding a series of mass rallies across the country to fire up his base. Khan has been steadily turning up the rhetorical heat in his speeches. Over the weekend, he threatened to sue the police and a judge after making accusations that a political aide was tortured in detention.
They arrested my aide Shahbaz Gill. They kidnapped him. They took him into custody, stripped and beat him for 3 days. I didn't know. After my lawyers visited him, they explained to me how badly the police had beaten him.
Khan's irritation with the government didn't end there. He accused it of attempting to silence him after Pakistan's media watchdog banned live broadcasts of his rallies, saying he's spreading hate speech. This is what Khan tweeted. I quote, "The fascist imported government sunk to a new low today by banning live coverage of my speeches on TV and then blocking YouTube temporarily during my speech at Liaqat Bagh. All this after continuous intimidation of media persons and taking channels off air." And joining me now for more context on this is Shamil Shams from DW Asia. Shamil, Imran Khan calls the government of Pakistan fascist and, according to the police, has threatened law enforcement. I mean, this is quite something coming from a former prime minister. What's behind it?
Well, I must tell you that Imran Khan's rhetoric is not aimed at Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's government. He's trying to put pressure on the Pakistani military because he knows that they are the ones that call the shots. He believes that the army is behind the crackdown, and he wants to put more pressure on the military general, the army chief Qamar Javed Bajwa. Quite irresponsible for a former prime minister, but Khan has never been a traditional politician. So that's what his supporters like about him, his populism. And that's what he's trying to do, the public rallies, the rhetoric, all these things are aimed at putting the military under pressure so that they listen to his demands. And the demand is that the government holds early elections as early as possible.
Right. And where does the military stand when it comes to the present situation in Pakistan? Is it supporting the current government or is it trying to be neutral?
The military is apparently supporting the current incumbent government, which is the constitutional thing to do because the military is supposed to support the government. But that's not the only thing. The military has huge stakes in Pakistan's economy, the strategic issues, the geopolitical issues. The military believes it cannot allow a populist politician to sabotage all these interests. And that's why they are trying to rein in the former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Imran Khan was ousted because he wanted to influence the military. He wanted to bring in his own military chief. And that has not gone down very well with the Pakistani military top brass.
These terrorism charges that have been placed against Imran Khan, will they affect his chances of returning to power?
I think the government, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's government, is trying to keep him quiet for a while. The most important month in Pakistani politics is November, when the new army chief will be appointed or the incumbent army chief will get an extension. So until then, you will see a lot of political chaos and turmoil in Pakistan. But the government is trying to keep him quiet until November, so do the army, so that they can appoint the army chief of their own choice. And if that happens, there will not be early elections in Pakistan, and Imran Khan's chances to return to power will be very, very slim, at least for the coming 2 or 3 years.
The scale of his rally seems to suggest that he has a lot of support behind him. Is the current government worried about that support?
Imran Khan remains a hugely popular politician in Pakistan. There is no doubt about it. The rallies are huge. Since his ouster, his popularity has increased. The government incumbent, I'm not sure that are very worried about this because they have the army's backing. And that is the most important thing in Pakistani politics. Unfortunately, if the army is supporting you, then you are safe and secure. And at the moment, the army is supporting Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
Shamil Shams, thanks so much. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Farzana Bari is a political analyst and human rights activist based in Islamabad. How well founded would you say these charges are, legally speaking?
I think it does hold some grounds. Although, he used the word that he will take like a case, they will, they will decide to have a case against a judge and against the other, government officials. But I think his kind of tone was very threatening. Instead of using that, they may appeal to the higher court, against the judgment of the judge or the dissent of the judge. But he kind of used a language and very threatening tone, and especially in the context of Pakistan, where there are so few women who are in our judiciary. And he named that a woman judge and said, "Oh, we are going to go against, we'll have a case against her." It was kind of I think, sort of quite threatening. And in that context, I'm sure there is legal people, they can tell better that whether it does qualify as an allegation as sort of terrorist allegation, which I think is probably a bit too much. But I think the way he has been threatening the government officials and the state institutions, calling, the way he's calling out, I think that's very inappropriate for a politician, especially who served as a Prime Minister of Pakistan.
OK, so from what you're saying, extreme reactions from both sides. How would you say the case is being viewed in Pakistan?
I think the society is there's a total divide. And because I think this is kind of a power struggle which is going within the state and within these political, players. So you will find the both opinion on the both sides. There were people who will say, there should be a case against him because he has been actually challenging the state and especially the judiciary and the Pakistan army of the country. And then there are people who will say this is within his right to right to express and freedom of expression, that whatever he wants to say he can say that. So I think there is a complete divide within our society right now and within the political circles as well, as far people are concerned.
Does the current government view the former PM as a threat?
Absolutely, they do. I think they are also quite wary of the kind of sport he has, and his supporters were actually quite violent in the sense, not physically, but I think they keep threatening people, and especially in the social media, they use very abusive language against those who are against PTI. So I think in that context, also when he was in power, he has misused his power, and he has been also putting people in jail and torturing and all that during his regime that was happening. So I think the present regimes definitely they are also they do feel threatened also by him. And therefore, I think probably that's why they want to now take action against him, because he's keep on crossing the red lines, whatever those red lines are, but he is crossing that. It hasn't been happened. I mean, in the Pakistani politics, we all know the establishment has been very powerful, even when there is a civilian government. At the back of that, it's always military establishment who's calling the shots. But I think in this case, now this situation is he is confronting that, is calling out, but in a very different way. Like he's calling out and telling them that he should continue to support him, which they did, back in 2018. So I think this is actually the situation right now in the country.
Very interesting analysis there from Farzana Bari in Islamabad. Thank you.